We're
Yeah.
live. We're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Before I forget, no, I'm not even. Should I open with please like and subscribe? Because I always forget to say that. I say it at the end. But it's kind of rude to open with like and subscribe. If you enjoy the content, definitely do so. There's a little box at the bottom there, a little red box, and a little red bell, or the bell may not be red. But if you hit that bell, you will get notifications for when we are on, because I know a lot of you guys don't listen to us live. You listen the next day or during the week. So you'll get a little notification when our videos are out. But we're here every Monday at around, well, it's 11 now, but today was a bit busy. But starting at 10 or 11, we will be on Sao Paulo time, which is about an hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. How are you, Peter?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Got some nice work-life balance going. The year is wrapping up very nicely. Chaotic year it has been, but we got through it, and I can't say it was all that bad. So yeah, life is good.
I gotta agree, but I don't want to come off as crass. It's just we happen to have a lifestyle that can allow us to navigate through the pandemic a little bit better as far as work. So
Yeah,
we are fully aware that, especially those of you in the sales and any type of work where you need to be face to face with your client, how you guys restaurant industries and everything, how you guys are suffering. So that really sucks, and I feel for those people a lot, which is why we try to support those businesses. I know I support the restaurant down my street. I played again at a bar, so we got the bar filled up. They opened during the pandemic, which is insane, but hopefully,
yeah. Crazy time to launch a business of
yes, they
any
can.
kind, really.
So hopefully they can keep their things going. So if you can, if you have to wear your little mask to do so, try to support your local businesses which require people to be in your face. But
Yeah,
we can just teach online and be happy.
I mean, if all it takes is to wear a mask to have like your life relatively normal, then I really have no problem with it. I don't think they actually help because those of us who take public transportation here in Sao Paulo have seen people mostly wearing them around their necks like necklaces. So they
Yes,
probably actually make things worse. But
I
if it
can
allows
imagine.
us to do our thing, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. It's just a little mask, guys. Um, and when you're not around people, do like me, because when I'm not around people, I take it off, or at least I put it down so my nose is out, because I can't breathe in those things. But when
Yeah.
I'm around a whole bunch of people or I have to wear it, just put the damn thing on. Um, so today we are getting it's officially now, because we had Black Friday. I was waiting. I didn't want to do a lot of Christmas movies. We only did Fat Man last week because it had just come out. But
Right.
because people shit on Thanksgiving, man, I love me some Thanksgiving. It's not Christmas till that turkey has been eaten. But we are now, I guess, officially into the Christmas season. And Pete, we may do. I'm springing this on you live. A Our favorite Christmas movies, and we'll do it live, so we don't have to wait 100 years for me to edit down shit. uh,
All right.
so think about it. I got a list. I think of 10 because I had written a blog a million years ago, a blog piece that was my favorite non-Christmassy Christmas movies. And that's the thing, I really don't like Christmas movies, but I like the ones that are a
Right.
little wacky or off to left field. So I got a list of 10. If you can get 10, that'll be awesome. But if not, we'll cut it down to 6 or something. Or we'll just
That
talk in
shouldn't be
general.
hard.
Hmm?
That shouldn't.
It shouldn't be hard. Cool. So I'm beginning the Christmas season. I'm going to be talking Alien Christmas and Deathcember. And what are you going to be talking today?
I'm going to be talking about Girl, which is a brand spanking new movie. So to show that we are staying current here, keeping up with new releases and shit. and to show that I still have a bit of regressive. Well, it's a little of both, actually. I will be talking about both the classic 90s television show, Beverly Hills 90210, which I just finished watching, and the unfortunately failed reboot from last year, which only lasted 6 episodes, but I think is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have enough space on the main screen to, and I didn't even put a separate slide for the reboot. But it's gonna be all together, guys. We're gonna go Beverly Hills
Yeah,
90210 at the end, and Pete will prove to us indefinitely that he is a straight cis male. Okay, by the end of this podcast, we'll know that for sure. Actually, you know what I would like for you to do at some point is do one exactly like you're going to do now for Dallas, because that got me curious. I don't think I have the guts to sit through 20 some seasons of Dallas, but I'd love to
it's
get your.
14 at over 30. I don't know exactly how many episodes there are of Dallas, but
Mhm.
yeah, that show is an eternity. I mean, I'm a fan, and even for me, that was a bit much.
Yeah, because it was a nightly soap, so I think it
No, it
followed a
was
different.
weekly. It was weekly. It was Friday
Oh, it was
nights actually.
weekly.
Yeah, it was on right
No,
after the
oh no,
Dukes of
no, you're right.
Hazzard.
Weekly, but I think for it because it had a soap opera format, did it run through the summer too? Because it might have
No,
had
it
more
didn't.
episodes.
It
Okay,
didn't.
oh,
That
that's
was
not
that was
too
their whole
bad.
thing. That was their whole thing because they had like the cliffhanger
Oh,
finales in May, and then you had to wait until September to find out who shot JR or whatever the cliffhanger was.
that's not too bad. Let me see here. How many episodes in Dallas? Because you say it's like 14 seasons, right?
Yeah, the first season was only 7 episodes because it was intended to be a miniseries, but it became insanely popular, and then they made a series out of it, and all the other ones were like 29 to 31, I think.
God damn, that's more
Yeah,
than the
they were
usual.
long ass seasons, man.
357
Jesus
episodes.
Christ, yeah, that's a lot.
Yes. That's Dallas. Dynasty is right behind it with 220. But yeah, it ran from 1978 to 1991. So I would love to get your. And oh God, that's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. So we'll talk about that at some point in the future. Do a little Dallas night because I don't think I've seen one episode of Dallas.
Oh, you're missing out. You're missing out. The first 6 seasons are gold. Holy shit,
So here we.
Bonanza had 430 episodes. That's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, Bonanza went on forever. I think it was the longest running show for a while until
It was running at the same time as Gunsmoke, and Gunsmoke
mhm.
stayed on the air because
Oh yeah,
apparently the
Gunsmoke.
president of the network, it was his favorite show, and he refused to cancel it.
Yes, he had told me that. I forgot. Gunsmoke was the longest running ever. Until I think The Simpsons might have beat it by
Oh, The
now.
Simpsons is blown by Gunsmoke.
Yes. And Grey's Anatomy, how the hell is that show still
I
on?
have
But it's
no
on.
idea. I don't know anyone who's actually seen it. Actually,
Oh, I liked the first two seasons, but I just dropped off because they got too soap opera-ish. Like the start of it, I thought was kind of cool because it was about a bunch of young folks who were just entering into like the job market. Let's say, I mean, it was the hospital trying to get their shit together, and it was right around the time that I was that same age, so I could relate to it. And it was really well written. It was smart, funny. Sandra O's in there, who's really great. You know, she was
yeah,
real.
yeah, she is.
So the first, I'd say 2 or 3 seasons, I followed it until it just got it way too soap opera for me, like McDreamy versus McSteamy, and is she gonna sleep with this guy or that guy? I was like, eh. But the part of it, which was about just a bunch of young folks, which were about my age, like trying to figure out what they want to do with their life after finishing whatever education they had to finish. I was like, oh man, that's me. Like that's what I'm going through right now. So I liked it a lot, but then I dropped off, and I figured most people had dropped off, but apparently not. You know, apparently it's still on. But good for Shonda. Shonda, I forgot her name. Shonda Rhimes or She's the lady who writes all this shit. She's got like her mini empire, kind of like what was the other guy that did The Practice and Ally McBeal?
I don't
David
know.
E. Kelly. David E. Kelly. He actually, I think he did the show Pretty Liars or Pretty Little Liars or whatever it was with Nicole Kidman. Um, so yeah, he had his little mini empire for a while of like 4 or 5 shows running at the same time, and it's usually been a man's thing to do that. So I'm happy for
True.
Shonda,
Yeah.
because she's a black woman doing her thing. So I'm like, go girl. Not my thing, but go girl. Anyway, let's get to some quick picks, guys. And I want to ask Pete before we talk Mandalorian, because we will talk a little bit of Mandalorian, because it's sort of mid-season, almost getting to the end. But first, I want to get your quick thoughts on Tenet. I know we talked Tenet before because I did see it, but what'd you think of it?
I thought it was like visually, it was really engaging. There's very rarely moments on the screen when you're not drawn to what's happening, but as to actually why things are happening, that was confusing as fuck, man. That is like an unnecessarily convoluted movie. Um, I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but I have to say that it was work, man. Like, and it was unnecessary work. I don't think it needed to be as complicated as it was. I mean, I read a lot of comic books. I watch a lot of sci-fi. I get that, like, you know, translating the science of stuff that isn't possible into a language that audiences can suspend their disbelief towards is challenging, but you don't have to make it more challenging than it already is. It was fun, but I found it work. It was actually work to watch that movie.
And how do you feel about the audio quality? Because that's been the main complaint. Because I thought, remember when we did
Yeah,
when we did ours, I thought, oh, I think it must have been because I watched like a cam version of it, and that's why it was bad. Until I went in all the groups and everybody was like, no, like the first 10, 15 minutes, it's really, really difficult to understand anything that anybody's saying. I was like,
yeah,
I
no,
felt better
apparently
about it.
he's got directors phoning him saying, dude, you need to work on your sound editing. But I didn't find that. And I think it's possibly because after all those complaints, they fixed it for the Blu ray and streaming versions. Because, I
Oh,
mean, I
that's
live
probably
right
it.
over Coryafeo, which is a really noisy, high traffic street. And I
Hmm.
watched it in the middle of the afternoon with my window open, and there was no problems for me.
Okay, he might have fixed it because I guess it becomes a point of pride for him to not want to fix it. Because I did read something where Nolan was saying that he actually goes for that because he wants that. Supposedly, that's his way of getting realism into the movie. Is the
Right,
fact
right.
that if you were actually there and there was a plane, like think Dunkirk or something, a plane flying over your head, you wouldn't be able to hear people talking, and even if it's like really important things that they're trying to say to move the plot forward, that's the part where I'm like, man, it's still a fucking movie, and the audience still needs to kind of follow what's going on. Like I
Right.
can understand that using that technique every once in a while, but not when it's like, okay, this is like a major plot point that a plane just flew over. And it's like living here in Sao Paulo. You ever wake up in the morning here in Sao Paulo with those helicopters and you're like, oh shit, you're trying to do a class or something and you can't do anything until they.
Actually, I used to work in Itaimbebe a lot, and it's right near Congonhas Airport. And there would
Yes.
be times in the middle of class where it's just like, I'm going to stop talking for the next minute because there's no point.
Yes, yes, it's not cool when that happens. I believe Sao Paulo, if it's not the number one, I think it's number two in ranking as the city with the most helicopters in the world. There's a lot of them here.
There
So
are, like, around Itaimbebe, like, all of those buildings have helipads on top of them.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So that's a little factoid about the city in which we live, the lovely Sao Paulo. So I'll try to watch it again. Like I'm with you. Like I liked it, but I just thought it was way too forced for its own. But it's just like it's just a cool spy movie, and it could have just been a cool spy movie, and it didn't need all that time travel stuff. Like I think sometimes the director's just trying to outdo themselves. Like let's
Right.
see how out there I can go to a point where it's like, no, you kind of lost the enjoyment factor. Like Inception was fun, it's loopy as fuck, and it can be a little
Yeah.
complicated. Like, which dream are we in? Are we in reality? But there's still a fun element to it,
It was
where
tight too. That was the thing about Inception. It's a tight
extremely,
movie. Like it never really loses you. You do have to follow it and stick with it,
yes,
but it's not that hard to follow. This one, it's like you need to like make a list of rules. Like, okay, what are the rules of this movie, and what are the exceptions to those rules? It's like, my
yes. Like I
God!
felt
Like
there was
at
a
the end,
point.
I was like, okay, I'm just gonna enjoy the effects. I don't know why some of this stuff is happening. I think I do, but I'm not 100% sure. The one thing I'll
Yes,
say for it is that gives it a rewatchability factor
it does.
because if a movie is enjoyable but a little difficult to understand, you kind of want to go back and see it again to see like what you missed.
Uh-huh. Yes, see, that and I did, and I felt that this movie had a bit too much plot explanation, because I think even he understood that, man, I'm just kind of getting real convoluted right here. Like there were a few scenes where they had to explain, like what you said, these are the rules, these are not the rules, which movies like this usually have, but it's like at the beginning, it's like 2 minutes of dialogue, and then you enjoy the rest of the fucking movie. But and I like time travel stuff. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and in Doctor Who, the new Who, the reboot is actually what made that line famous. The timey wimey wibbly wobbly. Like, what is time? It's timey wimey wibbly wobbly. You can't explain it, because they had a few of these new Doctor Who episodes where you're like, what? Where they're traveling before where they were, which is actually after they arrived before this other time. And you're like, what? But yeah, whatever. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I do think he's a very talented filmmaker, so I'm always curious to see what Christopher Nolan's on. But before we got on, guys, we were talking a little bit of Mandalorian, because I did see this article, and I'll see if I can share the article that I was showing Pete here. That came out on IndieWire, and there was a YouTube video I was watching this afternoon, but I didn't get to finish it. But it basically said that The Mandalorian is $100 million show about nothing. Okay, and it just goes on to say that there's no overarching plot, no character development. 6 episodes in, still no emotional stakes or anything that's going to get resolved or unresolved. And it was interesting that I saw this, because last week, I think before, either the last week or the week before, I posted in Justin's group, Talking Films on Facebook. I was joking a little bit, but I said, I don't need any more Disney movies. Just give me more of what The Mandalorian's giving me, because it's
Right.
way more fun and more entertaining than any of those three movies that came out in the post trilogy, whatever. And somebody commented, most people are like, yeah, 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 but there's one guy was like, I'm getting tired of adventures in babysitting, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, I still hadn't seen like a negative take on the Mandalorian, um, but I it made me think, like, and that's why I got shocked, because I came up with this idea when I saw Pete. I was like, oh, Pete, we should do like a mid-season wrap up of the Mandalorian, and Pete's like, the show's almost over. It's like just 10 episodes, and we're like on episode 7 already. I'm like, what?
No, it's eight episodes.
It's 8 episodes. So the next one is the last one.
No, there should be two more. I think.
No, but last episode was episode 7.
Last episode was six. I think.
Was it 6? Then that's
Yeah.
really crazy, because nothing has happened. That's what I'm wondering. Like, so I kind of agreed on one level, even though I'm being entertained as hell by this show, but nothing really has happened. He's just gone off on these little missions every week, and they're kind of cute. Well, actually, look at that. We're on episode 5, so we got 3 more to go. Last episode was The Jedi. So it's a sort of mid-season review, guys, because
She's not a
more.
Jedi. She's not a Jedi. God damn
Yeah,
it.
I saw a little bit about that too. That why is it that? Although, did he call her a Jedi? Did others call her a
Yes, he
Jedi?
did. He did.
And did she
And
and did
and the
she call
bad guys
herself a
called her a
Jedi?
Jedi too. And she didn't dispute it. Like I don't know what the attitude change was. I guess it might have had something to do with like the whole rise of the Empire because she quits the Jedi during the Clone Wars.
Mm.
I guess maybe she identifies with them more now that they've all been wiped out. Um, but yeah, she definitely in Rebels she makes a point of saying I am not a Jedi. So
Oh
I don't know.
yes, I
Maybe
saw that fight. You posted that on the Darth Vader fight with her.
yes, it's an excellent scene.
I am no Jedi. Like I am no man. Um. So, well, I don't know because I haven't seen any of the cartoons, so I have no clue. But for me, just going back to the points in this article, and then I want your take on it. He goes on to say, or she, I don't know who wrote this, or them, okay, is that the rest of the episode carbon copies almost all the story beats from the series' last few episodes. There's some celebrity cameos, blah, blah, blah. And then the episode's action sequences are cut above the static plot, but still a bit of a mixed bag, not a lot of physicality, and it kind of just always builds up to he gets to a new planet, meets some folks, and then they ask him to do something. He does it, so that's the big crescendo. And then Baby Yoda shows up every once in a while to be cute, even though he's been kind of hidden this season. He hasn't been so upfront as last season.
He got a name
Uh,
though. He got a
he
name.
didn't get a name. And the last three episodes of The Mandalorian, this is the last paragraph here, have been entirely interchangeable. And there's been zero plot development to speak of since the titular protagonist escaped the Bounty Hunters Guild with Baby Yoda in tow in episode 3. There's more than enough Star Wars locales for the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda to keep this unmoving jig up until the end of time. But one can only hope season one's remaining two episodes, I guess he meant to say season twos, will provide some sort of long overdue catharsis to the meandering story. So, unless, is he talking? Oh, no, this is from 2019. So, this is a review from season one. But I feel this can kind of apply to season two a little bit in the sense that, yeah, I was shocked that, like, really nothing has moved forward. What's your take on this, on The Mandalorian and what this motherfucker's saying?
I think it's deliberate. I think that that is exactly what Favreau is going for, because he knows short seasons, and I think they want to milk this for a little while. So if you move it too fast, then you're going to run out of stories to tell. I don't think it's his intention to keep spinning in circles. I think the pacing is very deliberate because we do have these like intermittent shots of Giancarlo Esposito doing all his evil shit in the background, so you know those two are going to meet again. And of course, his ultimate mission is to get Grogu to his people, and that's kind of weird because we've never seen anything like this except for Yoda and the Gremlins. um,
Wasn't there a female Yoda creature at some point, either in a cartoon or something, or am I tripping?
no, I don't think I've seen one,
It might have been like
but
fan art then, but whatever.
yeah. So I think basically he's telling audiences to just sit back and enjoy the ride, and we'll show you some fun shit along the way. But I think it's very intentional. It's not like a lack of creativity. He's deliberately trying to pace the show in a way that shows us some stuff and is fun. And eventually we'll get there. Just like be patient, motherfuckers.
Yeah, um, I kind of agree with you. I see where the writer's coming from because at least I don't know. I didn't feel that much because I only noticed now that he was talking about season one. I didn't feel that much in season one, because there was the threat of, you know, the remnants of the empire and stuff like that, much more than in this season. Um, but this season's been a little bit of a rehash. I felt that every episode's been more or less the same, except the location and people have changed, but it's basically followed the same plot. He arrives somewhere, hey, can you do us a favor? And he's got a soft heart, so in the end, he's like, yeah, sure, why not? And then next episode, hey, can you do us a favor? He's got a soft heart, yeah, then why not? And it's just been that over and over. This last
But
episode,
people forget that this is what television used to be like all the time. Like, I don't know if you ever saw
yes.
the old Incredible Hulk TV series with Bill Bixby and Lou
Oh, I
Ferrigno.
love that show. I used to watch
Yeah,
that
but
as a
that was
kid.
exactly what the show was like. Like every episode, Bruce Banner, or I think they actually called him David Banner in the TV show because some
I think it was
ABC
David, yeah.
executive decided that Bruce was a gay name and David wasn't. So fucked
Mm.
up times for television. But at any rate, like the story was the same every week. Like he would blow into some small town. Some he would experience the kindness of strangers, and of course, the strangers were always in some kind of trouble that triggered his anger, which turned him into the Hulk. But the Hulk would help them. And then he would have to move out of town because this obsessive journalist was chasing him. And that was like every single week. There was no change. And that actually is like the old school formula of television.
No, I
And I
mean
don't,
Trek is the same way. I think, and
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
these old shows are the same way. I think what the difference is, where like I see where you're coming from, but where I see the difference is that, like, take a show like what you just mentioned, The Hulk, or even another one that I loved as a kid, Quantum Leap, which basically had the
right, yeah,
same
exactly.
idea. But where you had a little bit of a change is that at the end there was like a lesson, or there was some character development, like something that you got out of that one episode, like whether it was one of the guys that was an asshole at the beginning realized he was an asshole and changed his mind, or the main character himself had to learn something about inexperience. Like when Captain Kirk flies into the next planet, it's not just to like show up, beat up some people, even though he wasn't adverse to that. But
Yeah,
there was something that you realize, oh, like that aha moment of like, oh, that's why we went on this next adventure. Where I don't think the Mandalorian has that, which is where I can see this guy's criticism being valid. That it's basically he shows up and it's a new shooting gallery. It's like level 2 of your next video game. It's like level 3 of the video game where you got to run down. Before you ran through the hospital to shoot zombies, and now you're running through the school to shoot zombies, and next you're gonna run through the church to shoot zombies. But you're not getting, like, the first episode had it. And I even made the comment that I was like, oh, I wish Star Trek Discovery could actually pick up some tips on that, because we learned about what were those desert people?
Sand people.
The sand people. Like, we got this different perspective on like these characters that we thought were just bad guys all the time or were just evil. And it was like, oh, even though it was your routine adventure of the week, or like, the X-Files monster of the week, there was something that they gave us, like a little bit more to make us go, aha, even if it's just within the universe, aha,
Right.
not like life changing, life altering ahas like Star Trek tries to do. But then after that, it's just kind of been okay. It's like he lands on a planet, he helps somebody, shooting gallery, move on to the next planet. But I don't see where I'm getting anything more out of that, except for being fucking entertained. Like, I'm saying all this, guys that are listening, but I'm not giving the show a low grade. I give it an A+. I'm enjoying the hell out of the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
But
and
I could,
it's making the universe a little bit bigger too, and it seems like they're really working like bringing some connection between the movies, the cartoons, and this whole slew of live action shows they have lined up apparently too. It's like it's trying to bring it all together. So I think you kind of have to look at it as a panorama, like sit back and look at the big picture, not just like the 60 minutes that you watched this week.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see how they're gonna do it because I would love to see, especially bringing in the Jedi. I think would it got me even more into it. Even though I mean, I don't want it to go into Skywalker territory because that's just overdone.
Yeah.
Um, but remnants of the Jedi, and even like the idea. I wasn't a big fan, as you know, of Rogue One, but I did like the idea of that one character, that Japanese guy who was able to channel the Force. Like so. There are these other elements there that I think the show. Like this last episode was a change of pace. I liked it, even though in the end it ended up being the same thing of like he had landed on a planet. Hey, can you give me a little help? He gave a little help, but there were like a lot of quiet moments where we got to expand, like you said, expand on the universe, expand on the philosophy, on the Star Wars philosophy, whatever it is. So I'd like to see Mando go there a little bit more, take some risks with that, even though it's a kid's show, so it doesn't want to get too heavy-handed. But I think it would be interesting. Guys, we're gonna move ahead, Pete, because it's been 30 minutes. We went heavy on Mendo, but it was our mid-season recap. There you go. You got it. Favorite episode so far for you? Uh-oh, did I lose Pete? Because so far my favorite was episode one, but then I really liked the siege. I thought that was a really nice episode, but I think I lost Pete from the. Well, I mean, he shows that he's still here. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead because I was going to go first anyway to talk about a movie that I saw. So, Pete, when you come back, just holla. And I went long on The Mandalorian because I wasn't going to say that much about this movie because it's a short movie. It's like 45 minutes. And y'all, it is so adorable. It is so cute. It is so well made. It's stop motion. That was awesome. So it's not a cartoon. It's all like claymation type stuff. And it's a story. It's a Christmas type stuff that I like. It's a little weird. Not your random Hallmark kissing under the mistletoe Christmas story. And it centers. Oh, there's Pete. He came back on his phone, I guess. Now
No,
we
no,
got two
no.
Pete's. I got two
Just
Pete's.
a slight 30-second internet interruption.
All right.
All right, this looks cute.
There you go. It is, man. I recommend this to all the parents listening. Don't listen with your kids because we say bad words on this show. But all the parents listening, watch this movie with your kids because it's fun enough for adults to watch and it's super cute for the kids. And it's Santa telling the story to these little elves about Christmas and this just really weird Christmas that they had where this alien race, they just they used to be very colorful, but then they all turned gray because they just wanted stuff. They built so much, so it's kind of like an anti-commercialism type of message in the movie too. That the real reason for the season is giving, and so they
Right.
go from planet to planet, galaxy to galaxy, whatever, just plundering planets, and then they arrive on Earth, and they happen to land on the North Pole, and they're gonna put this machine up that's gonna like what do you call it? It's gonna suck all the gravity out of Earth, and kill the gravity, and then all the stuff is gonna float out into space, and they're just gonna take it. It's like super ridiculous. So they send little X. That's the name of this little alien. He's the smallest of the aliens. He's the one that's gonna be doing all of this action. And he lands in Christmas Town, and he starts pilfering everything because that's in his nature, but no big spoiler here, guys. Obviously something is going to happen to make him have a change of
His
heart.
heart grows bigger.
Oh
The
yeah,
Grinch's
and it's
heart grew 10 times bigger that day.
yes, and but I love the ending though because the ending you think it's like oh happy ending, and then Santa comes on. He's like, I didn't say this story had a happy ending. It was weird because then the aliens attack and it's insane. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's fun even for adults. Like, you'll get a kick out of it. It's really had a little bit of a dark streak to it. Not super dark,
And it's
but
like what, 45 minutes?
oh, it's 45 minutes. You breeze through it. It's really well paced. Great voice acting. Great, Pete. It's claymation. It's so beautiful to watch. It's like Nightmare Before Christmas type stop motion. They have one or two scenes where it's like digital or something, but it's all claymation, which I love to watch. And oh, I just gave it 100 thumbs up. I just loved it. I just thought it was the cutest, cutest, cutest movie. Actually, I gotta post this. I'll probably post this video in some of the X Files groups that I'm on because they'll dig
That's
it.
a
They'll
very
definitely dig it.
X-Files looking alien.
It is, and the title even kind of is reminiscent of the X Files. Like the poster, the way that the X is written in green, kind of reminded me a little bit of the X Files. So I dig it. And you mentioned the Grinch, which is considered a holiday classic, and I always fall asleep through it. Like I think I've watched it all the way through once, and it's a nice story, but I always fall asleep to the Grinch. This is more or less the same story, just that it's way more upbeat, faster, and you won't fall asleep unless, I mean, you really, really like How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Um, but yes, I was telling people, Pete, that while you were gone, I was like, we talked more about The Mandalorian because I was just going to give a quick review of this, but it's worth it. Watch it. It's on Netflix or other places if you don't have Netflix. So let's get to the hard hitting stuff now. This is probably not one to watch with the kids, I imagine.
Not really. No, it's not actually all that graphic. It doesn't have like loads of sex and violence, but it's what the MPAA calls mature themes.
Mature teens, okay. Good luck finding any of them. But what is this one about? Girl.
It's kind of nutty. We talked last week about Tarantino and how he's like this director who he carbon copies other films, and we got on to talking about how a director like Scorsese, he has his influences, but he doesn't just like blatantly imitate them.
Mm.
And this is a really good example of that because it takes a little bit of multiple themes and genres that have been popularized by different directors and just kind of blends them into this crazy cocktail.
Mm.
Um, Essentially, the story is a girl. That's her name, actually. She's
Hmm.
she's listed in the credits as girl. We never know her name. Her mother is kind of fucked up. She's got a back injury that apparently came from girl's abusive father because he used to beat the shit out of her. And she's strapped for money, and she's written him a letter asking him for money. And he's written her back saying, I have no money and I'm going to kill you. So she's decided to go to this small town where he lives and kill him to protect her mother. When she gets there, she finds that he's already dead. He's been tortured to death. She finds him chained up in his wood shack, having apparently been tortured to death. So you think it's going to become a mystery of like she's going to try and find out who killed her father that she wanted to kill anyway. But it's actually no mystery at all. We find out right away it's the town sheriff, who's played by Mickey Rourke, who, by the way, looks horrible in this movie. He appears to have had one too many Botox shots. He's good in it, but he looks bad. And so then we know who killed him. Then it's like, okay, why did he get killed? And that actually, the movie's 90 minutes long. So actually, mysteries do not last for very long. It proceeds very fast. Um, but apparently, they're looking for his secret stash of money, which confuses the fuck out of her because she's like, my dad was a broke ass loser. He didn't have any money. And after all these red herrings, these mysteries that get solved within like 10 minutes, there is actually a few surprises revealed at the end that give it some payoff. But what I liked about it was that I could point to like 5 or 6 completely unrelated movies that you could see influences of here. And instead of it being a film that just copied like another director or another style of film, it took different aspects from different films and mixed them together. Like it had the female revenge thing going for it. It had the Sergio Leone man with no name thing going for it because our character is girl, right? She's the girl with no name. Where like some stranger blows into town and fucks shit up. It totally mocked like the small town hillbilly type lifestyle. Like there's a lot of jokes about inbreeding and shit. Winter's Bone came to mind. Excellent Jennifer Lawrence film that basically made her a star. It kind of reminded me of that because that's a movie about a girl looking for a piece of shit father who may or may not be dead. So yeah, it was a really
Winter's
good
Bone.
exercise in theme and genre blending.
What was that movie you mentioned? Winter's Bone.
Winter's Bone, yeah, that was the movie that made Jennifer Lawrence a star. It's a much better movie than this. It has much more dramatic impact. This is mostly going for like the pure entertainment vibe.
Another Canadian movie.
Was it really? Oh,
this movie is Canadian. Girl.
Oh, wow.
It was filmed in Ontario, so it's Canadian. It's listed as United States, Canada.
Okay.
But it was filmed. It was shot in Sudbury, Ontario, in 2019.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah,
and on the Canadian cinema. That's why I like having Pete on, man, because you don't hear a lot about Canadian cinema, or sometimes you just don't know.
No, we don't hear about it much in Canada either. Like Canadian movies do not actually get widespread theatrical releases even in Canada.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, because most of the guys are just gonna move down to Hollywood. It's like just next door. So
yeah, well, see, even here in Brazil, like 90% of the movies in cinema are American or British.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, this was fun. It does definitely deliver the goods in terms of action as well. Like she's not a badass like the Gina Carano character in The Mandalorian or what was that film we talked about? Oh, Revenge.
The one last week where the girl got pushed off.
Yeah, Revenge. Yeah, she's not a badass like that, but. The one thing she remembers about her dad is that he taught her to throw an axe. And that becomes a really relevant plot point.
Okay.
So it's got that fun aspect to it, but it does have some depth. And I will say that, like, I've discussed this on some groups, and it seems to be really divisive. Like, Justin was not a fan. Jeremy really liked it. So I guess it's individual taste, I guess, but I appreciated the style blending.
Cool. Oh, that's cool. It's nice to get positive reviews of some movies coming out. Although I will say this, I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, although most of these movies are coming out anyway, we're seeing them. But I still haven't seen like the movie, like that one movie that's made me go, wow. Like
I think The Five Bloods was pretty close.
It was about the closest I've gotten, yeah. It had kind
of a Bacalhau was really good as well.
Which one?
Bacalhau, the Brazilian one.
Oh, Bacalhau. Did that come out this year, though? I think it was from last year. That was this year?
Yeah.
Oh, that came out this year. No, here it's listed as 2019. Let me double check.
Really?
Because I'm pretty sure I had heard about it for a while before I got a chance to see it. Says Bacurau, Portuguese for nightjar. That I didn't know. Is a 2019 weird Western film. But no, it was selected to compete for the Palme d'Or 2019 Cannes Film Festival and
Okay.
won the jury prize. So that's not this year. It was released in September, August, September, whatever of last year. Yeah, I agree with you. The Five Bloods is about as close as it got for me as far as being that movie. But it had some clunky parts still. But that's Spike Lee being Spike Lee. Um, yeah, I'll see. Because I had like the last year that was like maybe a couple years ago when they had those. I can't even remember now. There was like the Phantom Thread, and it was all these movies that were like they were good, but they just. Oh no, that it was the year that I saw La La Land. I take that back. See, Craig. See, we name dropped you, Craig. Craig
Yeah,
would be
there
so
we
happy
go.
about that. Yeah, so that year I saw La La Land. That kind of blew me away a little bit. But last year I can't remember anything from last year, 2019. Maybe Bacurau. But I saw a lot of good movies last year. I haven't seen any this year so far that have been like, wow. But we still got Wonder Woman. I'm resting my hopes on Wonder Woman. I hope
Yeah,
even
I
if
kind of
this.
hope they give because I know like it's not getting a theatrical release in the U.S., but our theaters are fucking open and we have nothing to show. Like they're still showing New Mutants and Tenet in theaters because there's literally nothing to show. So they might as well like give Wonder Woman a theatrical release here. I'll go.
Might
It's
as
going to
well.
be out around Christmas, so I mean
Yeah.
that's the time when you got fuck all else to do but go to the movies. So I'd check it out.
Let me see here. Yeah, because it's no, if it's in the theaters, I'm definitely gonna watch it in the theaters. Look at this, man. Uh, Movies released this year. I want to see this Hillbilly Elegy, but
Yeah, I do too, except it seems really tedious. Like,
Run.
I know a lot of people who said, okay, I'm going to watch this with an open mind. And they basically all come back saying the same thing. Like, okay, it's not the offensive right wing propaganda trash that everybody is complaining about, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still not good. It's just not
Yeah,
very
it's just like
interesting.
it's just decent. I'm on
Yeah.
IMDb and all the movies here. Check this out, Pete. Like there aren't any that have gotten above like a 7 on their what do you call it on their rating. Although I mean you can't go with IMDb ratings all the time, but it does kind of give you some sort of a temperature. The Christmas Chronicles 2. I didn't watch one. Run. You saw Run, right?
Um, I
Batman,
don't.
Greenland, Let Him Go. I know that one got kind of mixed reviews in the film groups. The New Mutants you kind of dug. Uncle
Yeah, it
Frank,
was good. It
Tenet,
was.
Freaky, the trial that you like the trial of the Chicago 7, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was actually really good. I enjoyed that quite a
The Wonder
bit.
Woman's still gonna come out, so it's not rated yet. Underwater, Mank, Devil All the Time. I don't. Jujitsu was horrible. Look, I got a 3.
Yeah, yeah,
Really
it looks
horrible.
unwatchable actually.
It is. Borat, I didn't think was that good. It was okay. Yeah, I'm trying to see. The Prom, Hard Kill. It's a crappy Bruce. Mulan was okay. That was all right.
I would put Mulan in my top 5 of the year actually.
That girl got a 4.7 on IMDb. I'm thinking of
Wow.
ending things. That was supposed to be like but it didn't get any buzz. That was supposed to be like the movie. Oh, The Invisible Man was all right. That was at the beginning of the year. It was
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
that was actually really good. A lot of jump scares in that one.
Sonic the Hedgehog was kind of cute. I watched that. That was like the last movie I saw. I took my little cousin to see that before the break. But I have emotional attachment to Birds of Prey came out this year, but I didn't like it. Uh, Bad Boys for Life. Ava was all right. So we're just maybe we'll do like a end of the year review, and we'll go back to this page because that's gonna take forever. There's like 100 fucking movies. Let me go back to a movie I just finished watching right before we came on. which is called Deathcember. Deathcember. It's a really
Long
crazy
ass
movie.
movie, apparently.
Yeah, 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 24 minutes, and it does get a little tedious in parts. But what is it? It's a anthology movie, and it's the title has like 24 doors to hell. So it's like an advent calendar. It's kind of cute the way
Oh,
they do it. Like
nice, nice.
after every short film, it's like these short films, like really short. Like some of them are like 2 minutes, some of them like are five. I don't think any of them run over 5 or 6 minutes. Um, and they just go on. Um, they're Christmas themed, but all really fucked up Christmas themed.
Right.
And I thought it would be like a little bit higher production quality, but it really isn't. It almost feels like student movies, but like well-made student films, like up-and-coming directors and stuff like that, and like stuff that you could see the people that made the film themselves watching later and just having a laugh about, like, look at your makeup or look how like some of the stuff is so cheesy, but but some of them were so much fun. Like I'm not saying that as a negative, it's not like jujitsu bad, like it looked like a student film. Like this just looked like, if you have enough money to at least, I think they did a Kickstarter for this movie, but imagine you got like somehow you got a Kickstarter, you got yourself $5,000, you got a bunch of your friends together, and you tried to make a decent little short movie, and it turned out all right. That's what this felt like. It was enjoyable. It was like 2.5 hours, but I sat through most of it. A few I had to kind of fast forward through because they weren't in English. There's like two or three that aren't in English.
Oh, really?
uh, there's one I think was in Korean or something. That one I kind of
Oh,
totally
wow.
jumped. There was one in German. The first one is in German, but they only say like two or three lines. You kind of like. I'll tell you the first one because it kind of gives you an idea of what you're working with. It's this little boy wakes up and he's got his advent calendar on his fridge and he opens it up and he just starts eating all of blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's like him in a chocolate high. And then he sees the next advent calendar, he eats it all, and then he walks to like a shop or something and he starts getting these more advent calendars. And then this old guy just shows up out of nowhere and he kind of bumps into him and he's like, you shouldn't be eating all these chocolates. I said it in German. My German's like at 60% capacity, but I understood enough to say the guy told him, why are you eating all these chocolate, you greedy bastard? And the kid's like, fuck off. And then the guy's got a pentagon. Is it a pentagon? That's the devil, or is it the hexagon? I think it's a hexagon for the devil, right? So then he
No,
rubbed it.
pentagram. Pentagram.
Pentagram, yeah, Pentagon is U.S. government.
Yeah.
Um, the pentagram. So he's got the pentagram, and he's like, in German, he's like, uh, "Maldizione chocolate." Maldizione, and is given like some bad omen for the chocolate. So when the kid goes to sleep, he starts turning into chocolate,
Oh my
and then the
God.
next and then the last scene of the first little short film is this little girl opening up the advent calendar and eating the chocolate, and you can hear the little kid screaming like, ah. And so it's that level, guys, but it's funny. Like some of them are really funny, and like uh I wrote three here that I really liked. One was this Gumby Christmas. It was like all claymation. Again, this one was done in claymation, where this little Gumby creature, he's in his little house, and then he's like this little boy, and he comes out because there's like this present waiting for him. And when he goes out to get the present, this sack goes over his head, and they kidnap him, and they throw him in this dungeon. There's a skeleton in there, and then this priest comes by. He's got this big staff. He looks like this big Catholic priest. He pulls him out of there. He takes a Viagra pill and he fucks him. He fucks the shit out of the little Gumby, and
Jesus.
he throws him back in there. And then the next guy that comes in is like a pastor or something. He comes in there with like a little gingerbread man, so the little Gumby creature thinks he's there to help him. Just that then he grabs the kid and he butt fucks him again, and you're like, what the fuck, And he gets butt fucked for like, how the length of the movie is like maybe like 3 minutes, but he gets butt fucked, and then like a Krampus type creature comes down the chimney, drops this bag, and then the little Gumby creature, like, and the door cracks open for where he was being locked up in this little dungeon, and And then the next guy comes down to rape, butt rape the little thing. And then he's reaching in the bag, and there's like an AK in there, and he starts shooting, and it's gory as fuck. They blow up everybody's head, and then the Catholic priest is about to come, like after and he finds a slingshot, and he slingshot a Viagra pill into the Catholic priest, the same Viagra pill. So the Catholic priest's dick gets really hard, and it impales through the pastor's head. Man, it's
Man,
insane. I
that's
was thinking about
nuts.
you. You would like this movie. Like, not, I'm telling you, it's 24 short movies. Of course, not all of them are going to be good, but they were all mostly watchable. I'd say like 70% out of like from a 2.5 hour movie, if you can get, 70 to 80% of them, I thought were at
Yeah.
least interesting.
No, it sounds like a good time killer.
And the one that I got two more that I really like. And it's the one that I used as the image right here. This was so wacky, man. It's like it's this little boy who's in his deathbed, right? The doctor's there, and the monitor's going, beep beep, and then it flatlines. Except that these carolers show up at the last minute, and when the carolers are there, he comes back to life. Beep beep. So then the
Okay.
mom invites the carolers to come upstairs, and she realizes that there's no dialogue. That's what's so funny. That hey, when they're singing, the kid stays on life support, like he survives. Except that, as you can see in the image, that becomes the running joke is that the carolers stay in this house for like ever. Like they're all old and decrepit. You see all the people are dead on the ground because everybody's been in there because the parents just want to keep this kid alive. And like it's almost like they kind of flash forward 5 years, 5 years. People are getting married in this room. And meanwhile the carolers are getting older. They were like little kids at the beginning. They were like 10 years old. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it was so wacky. It was like a 2 minute short movie that I was like, oh my goodness, I thought it was inventive. And then the last one that I really liked, and it made me think of Fat Man. I wish Fat Man had gone down this line. It's this little kid who's a little effeminate. He's a little gay kid. He's maybe like 10 years old, but you can tell he's probably like a little gay kid. And his parents are divorced, and he's living with his dad, and his dad's a fucking asshole. And his dad's like, he's got like a little pony as a toy, and the dad breaks it. And then the little kid writes to Santa. He's like, Santa, please fix my little toy horse. So then they wake up in the morning and the toy horse is fixed. So the dad's like, where'd you get a glue gun? This and that. And he locks the kid in the room. And then the little kid doesn't give him dinner. And then the little kid writes to Santa. He's like, can you please always leave my door open? So the door's open. And then the next scene, you see the kid's got a black eye. So you see the dad's an asshole and he's abusive to the little boy. So then the little kid writes another letter to Santa, and I'm not going to tell you the end of the shorts movie. It just gets very bloody. But I kind of like this idea. I wish Fat Man would have been something like that, like a
Yeah,
Santa that
little kid
does
like writes to Santa for help and revenge.
exactly, and he
Nice.
comes down and helps the little kid. So again, it's 24 of these. Some of them are gonna hit, some of them are gonna miss, and some of them I thought were really cool and really inventive. It's not great acting, but it's real gory and it's real fun. Like I could see you watching this with a couple beers and just having a good laugh,
Yeah, yeah, it
watching this
sounds like
movie.
fun. I like anthology movies.
Yeah, and it's kind of inventive. 24 there. I mean, there was one kind of trippy one that I didn't quite get,
Yeah, I
where they were
mean,
out in
that you don't
space.
see very often. Usually, when you see anthology movies, it's like you usually get about three, maybe four stories,
Yeah.
but like cramming these short little films in like that, you don't see
Hmm.
that very often.
No, you don't. And they're all bloody as fuck. And the last one was really good, where Santa's going on a rampage. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but it's real bloody and it's real funny. It's funny and bloody. And the other one I like too was where this lady's trying to return her gift, so her little boy could have a better gift, and she doesn't have the receipt. And the guy won't let her exchange the gift, so she smacks him over the head with this bell, and they have like this fight inside the store that's all bloody. It's just an excuse to have blood and gore, but it was funny. I mean, you enjoy it. But now let's get to the real serious shit. Okay, we were just talking fluff movies before this, so we can
Yes,
get to the
yes,
hard hitting stuff.
yes. This is
90210.
the real social impact.
Look at this. This is like the whitest picture GIF I've ever seen in my life, by the way. I just noticed this now.
It is a very white cast. Although they did actually have a Latino in the and an Asian in the cast over the years, so
Oh,
it
nice,
wasn't
nice.
an exclusively white show.
All right. So Pete, for those that don't know, goes on these crazy tangents every once in a while, and he decided after watching 14 seasons of uh, what's the name
Dallas.
of the Dallas, that he wanted to dig into how many seasons of 90210? It wasn't as many, right? It
10.
was,
Actually, it ran the
that's not
entire
too
length
bad.
of the 90s. It ran from 1990 to 2000, I think.
Oh, not too bad. 10 is easy to do after you've done Dallas.
Yeah.
And so tell us, Pete, how'd you feel at the end? How?
Um, well, first of all, let's just say that all television series that run for a long time run for too long. We were talking about the X Files not that long ago, and about how at like a certain point it just lost us. Like it's like,
Mhm.
man, the show's been going on too long. It's not good anymore. What I think 90210 did really well at the end was that they realized that the premise had been exhausted, and they made a good effort to give it a good ending. Like the season 9 was pretty painful. It was bad, and it's like they came back to season 10 with the intention of like, okay, like this is done, but we're going to give it a good ending. And I thought they did a good job with that because the basic premise of the show changed a lot over the years. But what eventually it became about was about these young people growing up and coming of age, sort of thing. And the natural way to bring it to an ending is to show these characters as having grown up, and that's what they did. It had a nice finality to it. Steve,
Just so
yeah,
people like me, because I just, for whatever reason, I had no interest in watching this when it was on. Um, Let me get the story. It's just a bunch of folks, young people living like they're sharing a house or something. It's like a Republica type situation. Like I don't even know the premise of the show.
no, well, the premise changed a lot over the years. The
What was
original
like the
premise,
original premise?
yeah, the original premise was it was about this family that relocated to Los Angeles from Minnesota, specifically to Beverly Hills. And the show, basically, the central characters were this twin brother and sister. And the concept of the show was their culture shock, having been displaced from boring old Minnesota to glamorous Beverly Hills, where all their high school classmates were like the sons of movie stars and the daughters of models, and they drove convertibles, and
This was like the
you know,
Fresh Prince before the Fresh Prince.
yeah, I've never seen French Prince, but yeah, kind of like that. Maybe this is like the white French Prince. I don't know. But yeah, that was basically the original idea of the show. But as it evolved, it became more of an ensemble cast, and it moved. Like very little of it actually takes place in Beverly Hills. One of the main location is actually Santa Monica.
Mm.
Um, but it basically just follows these young people from uh, their 10th grade of high school to their third year out of university.
Wow.
And that's what I liked about the ending is that it reached a point where it was like, okay, like this isn't a show about young people growing up anymore. They're grown up, and they gave them all endings, which I thought worked really well as a final season. Steve, our big blonde boy here, hoisting up Tori's spelling. He's like the most irresponsible character in the show. He gets married and he has a baby. Uh,
Mhm.
Dylan, who is played by Luke Perry, he graduates university because during the university years, he's the only one who doesn't because he left the show in the middle of season 6 and then came back in the ninth season. And he's an irresponsible alcoholic and a drug addict. And he has a $10 million trust fund, so he doesn't really need a university education. But he gets one just to prove he's a responsible adult. And it ends with a wedding. So you kind of feel like, okay, these characters have kind of reached a point in their life where their lives are going to continue, but they're not going to be soapy trash anymore. So you don't want to watch. Like they've grown up and it's going to be normal and you can kind of say goodbye to them.
And who was the other guy that was famous on Jason Priestley? I remember
Jason
his name.
Priestley, yes. I will talk more about Jason Priestley when we get into the other half of this conversation,
And what's
which
the
is
other
the failed BH
reboot?
90210 show that was launched last year. One 6 episode season, and it was not renewed. But I'm
Who
halfway
was the
through
one
it, and I
that
think it's
died, Pete?
hilarious.
Who was the one that died last year?
Luke Perry. Luke
Luke
Perry.
Perry.
Yes,
Yeah, those are
yes.
the two names I remember. Well, Tori Spelling too. I remember those names just from like you saw them on the front of every magazine cover. They were like the hot shots of the show. And later on, they had was it Nev Campbell was on this show or no?
No, no, you're thinking of Party of Five. Actually, God, I'm looking for a
Oh
replacement.
yes. Interestingly enough, well, I don't know if it's interesting, but I did watch a couple episodes of Party of Five. I don't know. I kind of dug it. It seemed a little darker, a little more depressed, like everybody was on drugs or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Um,
I actually never did, but I could see the appeal of that show.
you could see me being a viewer of that show.
No, no. I mean, I can see why it would be appealing to people who like this, but still like can take it seriously. But
Yeah, Party of Five was way more heavy-handed, but for whatever reason, I just it's not that I wasn't a teenager ever, but I don't know, something about my personality. Like my mom used to call me old man even when I was like 13, 14. I just liked old shit. Like I used to watch black and white movies and silent movies, Nick at Night. So while everybody was watching 90210, I was watching reruns of Mary Tyler Moore, All in the Family on Nick at Night. So for whatever
yeah,
reason, I just never connected to like that teenage even though in a way I did because I was a mall rat, like I would be at the mall every Friday drinking and doing stuff that teenagers do, but I was also a nerd. I was also playing Star Trek during recess and going to Star Trek conventions. So
yeah.
I don't think I ever related to like this type of teen, like just kind of the cool kids,
I
like I like Saved by the Bell. That's about as teen as I got.
Yeah, and actually, Tiffany Amber Thiessen from Saved by the Bell wound up being in the show for a number of years as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that.
for me, I was really resistant to it because I started watching it. The first time I saw it was in 1992, I believe,
Uh huh.
which is when they had this summer season between season 2 and 3. And it was a brilliant move because they used to advertise the fuck out of it, but nobody was watching it. And me and my roommates, who were also like my best friends, we'd watch these commercials for this ridiculous looking show and say like, my God, like who the fuck would watch this trash? And then of course summer comes along and all the network TV shows were on hiatus for the summer. And that was literally the only thing on. So we basically
Hmm.
dared each other. It's like, okay, like let's watch this. And they had like the best storylines going on, and we got so hooked, we were embarrassed. It's like, oh my God, dude, I hate to say this, but I actually
But you
like this
liked
show.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
And
thing that I think turned me off because like these were like they came off as like the cool kids. I know they all had like, if you watch it, really watch it, they all have problems, but from the outside looking in, it just like these are the kids that I can't stand in high school, because I'm like the weird kid wearing black and cut up jeans and combat boots to school and painting my nails, and these are the kids that probably want to beat me up. So I
Yeah,
think I might have
and
had an
some of them are
aversion to it.
supposed to be like that. Like the
Uh
original
huh.
portrayals were very stereotypical.
Yeah.
One of the best female character in the show is actually Kelly, played by Jenny Garth, and she's the blonde chick behind the tall blonde dude
Mm-hmm.
in the front. But she's basically introduced as your typical Beverly Hills Barbie girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's blonde, she's beautiful, she got a nose job for her 15th birthday. She's driving a convertible when she's 16. But as an actress, I found this out later, but she really pushed behind the scenes to give her character more growth and depth. And she got way more than she asked for. She gets put through like every possible soap opera trope that you can imagine.
Is she the one that
She gets
got run
amnesia.
over?
She joins a cult. She's a coke addict. She gets raped. She shoots her rapist.
Oh
But all
God.
of these things are actually meant to develop her character, and she sells it really well. So good for her.
Who's the one that you shared the clip of that got run over? Like when they cut her off the show? Or she got hit, or a truck hit her or something. I know you shared some clip from YouTube where you're like, damn, that's a crazy way to go. Like she's talking to the dude. Or maybe it was the dude.
No, that
But
wasn't a
they,
girl. That was a guy. That was
oh, that was a
actually
guy.
yeah. That was in one of the university episodes. The
Yeah, he got in
guy
the
who's
car
running
and all
for
you hear
president of
off
California
screen.
University,
Uh,
and Brandon is his running mate. And it's like, oh, this guy has a bright future. And he gets in a car and drives away. And his car gets hit by a garbage truck. And then they
yes.
find out he won the election. So, of course, Brandon's going to be the class president.
Oh God. I don't think I would ever have the patience to watch it, but I'm glad you're doing the heavy lifting
Yeah, it
for
takes a certain
90s.
mentality. At any rate,
Yeah.
the only well, not the only reason I'm talking about this because I did just finish watching it last week, but I also watched the show that they launched last year and failed epically, which is
The
BH
reboot.
90210, and it's really different. I didn't know what to expect because like there was no way in hell I want to watch these characters in their 50s. The appeal of the show is that they are young people and it deals with young people growing up. And I don't want to see these characters in their fucking 50s. But that's not what the show is about. The show is the actors playing caricatures of themselves as they try to launch a reboot that fails mostly for the reasons that I mentioned.
Oh, it's like kind of meta then. It's almost like Curb Your Enthusiasm when they had the
Yes,
Simon
yes,
Pegg
it's very
movie.
much like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it's very comedic. Like it's actually really brave of these actors, most of who have not done much since, to make fun of themselves like this because they come off like bickering assholes, and
Mm-hmm.
they play their parts really well. Like Jason Priestley in particular is really good because I don't know if you followed like entertainment media in the 90s, but I mean these
Who was the
characters
boy?
not they were huge. They were
Oh yeah,
huge.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like I remember their names. Like Jason Priestley was like the it boy, of the '90s.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was.
like they
So
would draw like 100,000 people to autograph signings, and when they
I
arrived
remember
in foreign
Pete.
countries, yeah.
Remember when he was at the VMAs and Buttman came down, Howard Stern, like he came down to present. Like I remember him from that, and he was really cool about that. And he even like grabbed Howard Stern's ass cheeks as Fart Man, not Buttman, Fart Man.
Yes, yes, I do remember that
And,
actually.
and he was really cool about it because when Howard Stern put out Private Parts, which is a great underrated movie, um, he replayed that scene, because Howard, they reenacted that scene for the movie, and Jason Priestley. Oh no, I'm sorry, he didn't. John Stamos did it in the movie. I'm sorry. Yeah, John Stamos ended up doing that part, but he was always cool about it. So yeah, I know these people. Like this girl with the glasses, I don't know her name, but I remember seeing her a lot. She was kind of like the one that seemed the most serious out of the cast. And of course, Luke Perry was like the it boy too. You know what
Yeah.
I
Oh,
dug?
Luke Perry was like definitely the star of that class, as it were. I mean, he never really made it big time. Like he tried to go into movies and it didn't pan out, but he had a nice career in television. Like he went on to Buffy, and then he was in Oz, and he was in Riverdale. So he made it pretty good. Jason Priestley has apparently been working steady in Canada,
Mm.
but nothing that he's done has really made it to mainstream.
Yeah, and Tori
And
Spelling.
actually, Ian Ziering, the big blonde guy,
Mhm.
Sharknado. He's
Oh really?
responsible for the Sharknado franchise, so he's
Oh,
had
good for
some
him. I like
minor
Sharknado.
success, I guess you could say.
That's a big success. I mean, those movies are terrible, but
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
great at the
And
same
actually,
time.
the production company that made that has like a ton of these beach themed horror movies, and he's in
Uh,
all of them. I actually probably need to check up on some of them because he's
oh,
aged really well. He doesn't look that different than he did in the
maybe.
show.
And Tori Spelling had a so-so career after, right? Or did she fade off
She
completely?
became a social media influencer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's nice the way that they're able to laugh at themselves, and that they got our girl Shannon Doherty here, the one in the black dress. Um,
Hmm.
they got her involved in this because that was a really big entertainment story in the '90s. She got fired at the end of season 4, because apparently she was showing up late on set, and she had real problems with the rest of the cast, and they totally play that up in this. Like she's the villain. There's this one scene in the first episode where the other 6, they're all at this fan convention in Las Vegas, and it's just going horribly. Like all their personal dirt is getting aired, and they don't want to be there. And the host is like, "We have a special surprise for you," and they bring on Shannon via closed circuit TV, and she's working at this baby tiger reserve in Southeast Asia, and talking about how it's all about the animals, and I feel at one with myself, and they're all just like, that fucking bitch. They really like they play up a lot of shit that people already know, but play exaggerated versions of themselves. Like the Jason Priestley character. Like I think of how insanely popular that they were back in the day. And
You
the
know
first
something?
thing that comes to my mind is that that dude must have gotten laid so much.
Of
And
course.
and that's his character in the show. Like, there's a scene where Jenny Garth tells him, "You think you can just charm your way out of everything, like just like you did back in the day," and they totally make references to the fact that he was a total pussy. But I mean, of course you would be, right? You're like a teen heartthrob. Hundreds of thousands of women like want you. Like, of course you'd be like that.
And man, he was a
That's
good-looking
true. Yes,
motherfucker.
yes. Yes, and
Good-looking
they do
motherfucker.
actually go the gay angle here. Gabrielle Carteris, the one with the glasses, she's going through a late stage lesbian phase in this show, which she
Oh,
wants to
nice.
work into the show, but the producers are like, I don't know.
Oh well. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's weird because although I didn't watch the show, it's such a part of my youth because it was just everywhere. So people that didn't grow up in the '90s would not understand what
That's the
everyone
thing.
was.
That's the thing. I think BH 90210, the reason it failed is that, like, if you weren't a fan of the show, like, you have no context, and you
Mm-hmm.
probably won't get the humor.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's funny these types of shows because I mean, there's stuff that's popular today, but because there's so much stuff, I mean, I can't think of anything that is big like stuff back in the day because there wasn't that much to choose from. So when you get a show like 90210, it is it, and it takes over everything. I mean, Stranger Things, I guess, was got kind of big this first season, but even still, like you see, it kind of maybe Game of Thrones. Maybe Game of Thrones is about the only one
That was
that,
a cultural phenomenon for sure.
yeah, that
And
that
you know,
got.
we've talked in the past on our other podcasts about how Star Trek, we used to only have those like 3 seasons of the original series,
Yes.
and for Star Wars, for the longest time, we only had that original trilogy. And I
Yeah.
I guarantee you, man, like in 20 years' time, Game of Thrones is going to be so much more than just those
Hmm.
books and those movies. Like there's going to be a
Yes.
lot.
Yes. Yes. And then, but at the same time, that's gonna have diminished returns, because we're like too much of a good thing. Kind of. It doesn't make it as special. But yeah, I mean, for any people listening to our podcast who are under 20, guys, it's just something that's indescribable. And I'm sure, I was born in 81, so I was a teenager during the 90s. I'm sure I could never understand what it meant when the Beatles first arrived, and watching those people go nuts because I wasn't alive back then. And like, it's something that it's difficult to comprehend how people could have gone that crazy. Like sometimes you watch old clips of the Rolling Stones back from the 60s, and all Mick Jagger does is like lift his hand and people faint. And you're like, what? But it's
Yeah,
because literally there was nothing like that before, so it just becomes this wave of just what the fuck, and it just drives people insane. Um, and it's indescribable. Or even like for me, a little bit in the '90s, like Madonna. Like people will never, people talk shit about Madonna now because she's like almost 60. But people will never understand. I mean, even if you didn't like Madonna, you knew who the fuck Madonna is, and chances are you could probably, if forced to, sing along to one of her songs because it was everywhere. Like everybody knows like a fucking virgin or like a prayer. So
yeah.
it's incredible. It's a different time, totally different time. So that's cool that you went back down memory lane in the '90s. Did you ever watch My So-Called Life? I kind of dug that show. That was on
I've never even
MTV
heard
for
of
just
that.
one season. What? Ah,
No,
come on, Pete. You're kidding me. Because Pete
no.
loves like these teen dramas. No, Pete, that's your mission. That I'm giving you homework. Watch us My So-Called Life with Claire Danes. Really, really critically acclaimed show that only lasted one season, unfortunately. But it was on MTV, so it was a cable show. So it's kind of heavy. It was not, it's not fluffy at all. Jason Cruz from Star Trek Discovery, which I only found out like last year. It's like I recognize this guy from somewhere. Is that his name, Jason Cruz or William Cruz? I forgot now. But who plays Dr. Colbert, the gay doctor? I was like, where do I know him from? And he was the gay boy in My So-Called Life. And that's another thing that was cool. That was one of the first shows I remember seeing an openly gay character, which was played by Cruz. He was Claire Danes' best friend. Definitely find it, Pete. I think that's right down your alley. And it's only one season. So, you just
Okay.
did a
Is
100
it a
season
is it a
movie.
long season or is it like a modern type season?
Um, let's find out. Because it's been a long time. My So-Called Life. How many episodes? But it's probably, I imagine, My So-Called Life, 17 episodes. It's not a very long season. Critical reception. Oh, it got really good critical reception. Won a bunch of awards. But anyway, um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19 episodes. 19 episode season. Yeah, but it was a shame when it got knocked off. It had an online fan campaign attempted to save My So-Called Life, the first such event in the history of the World Wide Web. An arduous schedule and the mental and physical demands of the production episode television caused difficulties for the young actors who had to balance schoolwork and rehearsal and time on the set. So, Danes, which was the main character, said her parents approached the show's creators and told producers that she did not want to be involved with the show if it continued for a second season. But without your star, you got no show. So that's pretty much why it ended. Although she claims that, hey, I didn't have enough power to cause the cancellation myself, but a lot of people were upset when that show went off the air because it was really well written. Teen um, teen show. Check this out. Maybe you'll recognize these characters. And then you didn't see Claire Danes again until Terminator 3, where she, I mean, as far as like in a big role. There you go. Some young folks. There's Dr. Kohlberg right there, young Dr. Kohlberg in the middle. Claire Danes on the right, her friend. Oh, this boy was real famous on the left. I forgot his name though. But he was like kind of like the heartthrob of the show. But I forgot. You might know his name because you know all these motherfuckers. Wilson Cruz, AJ Langler, Jared Leto. That was Jordan Catalano was
Oh
played by
yeah,
Jared
yeah, yeah,
Leto.
yeah. He's in two of my all-time favorite movies.
That's the Joker
He
now,
was
Jared Leto. Same Jared Leto, right?
yes, yes, he is
Oh, that's
the same
crazy. I
one,
didn't
but
even connect that until just right now. Fuck.
he was also
Yeah,
in
man.
Fight Club. He was in Fight Club,
Oh no, he's been
and
in a bunch of good fucking
star of
movies.
he was the star of Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, I don't like Requiem too much, but he was in Dallas Buyers Club or whatever the name of that was. No, he's a great actor. I didn't like his Joker that much, but that might be more due to direction. Um, yeah, so you got a great cast, great show. So I think you would dig that. That's right down your fucking alley. And Wilson Cruz, another one that I was like, oh my God, that's Dr. Colbert in Star Trek Discovery, real young. And for me, imagine 19, when did this shit come out? 1994. So I was 13 and I was starting to figure out that, hey, my dick's getting hard for people that maybe it should be getting hard for, according to society. So, and I wasn't sure what all that meant. So it was really amazing to see a character that was out like that would play somebody around my age, and I was like, oh shit, maybe a little bit older, but they're all high school students, and I was like, oh shit, look at that. So there's that aspect to it. So real powerful show. Um, so check it out. Check it out. Ends on a cliffhanger, unfortunately. But man, we've gone on for a long time tonight,
Yes,
guys.
it
We,
is.
we
It
went
is
on.
way past my bedtime, man. I gotta
I
be up at 6
know.
tomorrow.
I
Although I think I'm
kept.
gonna actually set my alarm for 6:30, just to compensate for our excessive tardiness this evening.
So, guys, just a quick recap. I give Alien Christmas a million thumbs up. It was the cutest thing I've seen, other than Vampires versus the Bronx, but I thought this was even cuter. And definitely good for the kids for the holiday season. It's short and sweet, and the parents will like it. It's not stupid uh, kids movie. And Deathcember, man, you gotta have a certain mentality for this one. If you're a fan of horror, I think you'll dig it, and you'll understand and appreciate the B level of it as far as the acting and some of the makeup and shit like that. But at the same time, you'll really dig. You also dig that they went for it, and I think they accomplished it. I mean, it's a 2.5 hour movie, and maybe three or four of the short movies, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I think I might have even fast forwarded a little bit. But the rest of it, I was into it. I was like, oh man, these are cute. And they're all, 5 minutes tops, these short movies. So um, worth a watch. And then Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, girl, I think it. I really liked it. It seems to be really divisive. I know a lot of people who did not care for it, but I know a lot of people who did. And my personal opinion is that it's a great example of blending different themes and genres to to still pay homage to films that have come before, but to combine those different things in a way that is still fresh and original. And also, this actress who apparently she's a former Disney girl. I've never seen her. Like, what's her name? Bella Thorne.
Yes.
She's pretty hot. She's pretty hot. So, if for
The
nothing
hot
else, watch it for
factor.
that.
The hot factor. Actually,
And
oh, go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I was just mentioning because, for the dudes out there that like some hot women, Death Chamber or Deathcember is full of them, and there's even a little lesbian thing going on in one of them, but it's kind of weird. That was one of the weirder stories. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah. And as for 90210, let's just say that I've gushed about it. And that is mostly for people who are familiar with it already, because I think if you weren't there, you won't get it. But I know there were a lot of people who were there and might actually enjoy it. The only exception to that I would make is that if you just have a general predilection for soapy trash, maybe if you weren't there, you might actually still enjoy this. But I think it's the sort of thing that you really had to be a product of the 90s to really appreciate. But I know like most of our listeners are roughly the same age as me and probably are at there, so don't turn your nose up at it, motherfuckers. There's some good TV in there. There's some bad TV, but there's some good TV as well.
Well, my thing is this: I don't think a show can last as long as a show like this lasted if it didn't have some redeeming quality. If it's just absolute trash every week, unless it's like daytime soaps or something like that. But to compete prime time, you got to have some substance. You're not gonna make it. And we've seen a bunch of shows come and go that tried to be 90210, and they just didn't last as long. Including, I don't think Party of Five really
No, no, it
had
didn't.
as much longevity. Let me see here. Party of Five lasted, I think, 6 seasons. On Fox. So, in order to sustain something like that, it requires some bit of substance, even if on the surface it may come off as a little bit trashy or like just pop bullshit. Uh, you're not surviving prime time. Maybe daytime you can survive, or like if you're
Yeah.
like Hannah Montana or some shit like on the Disney Channel, you can survive, but not on prime time when you're going up against like big shows, Law and Order, the X Files,
Yeah,
there was
I
a whole
remember
bunch of.
90210 was on Wednesdays. They had a really good time slot. Wednesday,
Mm,
8 p.m. That is literally prime time. Because
yeah.
Friday is not a good time slot. Like people are out
No,
doing
Friday
shit
is
on
the
Friday.
is when you get. That's where when the X Files started. They were on Friday, and it's like
Yeah,
the graveyard shift. But then when it got hot, it moved to Sunday nights, and that's when it blew up. That's when, and that's another show that people today will never understand how big the fucking X Files were.
yeah. But I had an X Files T-shirt, man.
Yeah, there was a fucking movie, that made millions. I mean, that was just another.
It was
And it's
two
not.
movies. It was
Yeah,
two
there's
movies.
two. The second one wasn't as good, but I'm saying the first one was a huge hit. It was right
It
between
was,
season
yeah,
five
and
or
it tied
six or
into the
six or seven.
series too.
Yeah,
And it was a good movie too. Like
I know.
it had everything.
I know. I watch it every couple years. I rewatch it because it's good. The second one is it's a letdown. It's not a bad movie, but it's a bit of a letdown. It feels just like one long.
I
It's like a
liked how
long
it was just
episode.
a regular FBI story. It was
Yeah, it's
just
like a
like,
long
no, this movie
episode.
is just about Mulder and Scully, and it's not about X Files shit at all. It's just about
Mhm.
like FBI agents being FBI agents. Like, what a fucking novelty! That's literally the weirdest thing you could do with the X Files. Have them do
Yes.
like a normal FBI case.
Yeah, they were like chasing some pedophile or something, like some pedophile
Yeah,
that was protecting something. It was weird. I was like, what? Like, it wasn't bad, but it was just like, what the fuck? And I think that's what got people pissed off about it because, like, we waited like 5 years or however long since the series ended, hoping to have a conclusion, like a bigger conclusion or a continuation. and then you give us, like what you said, just like, okay, this is the day to day of two FBI agents talking to a pedophile. And it's like, all right,
Yeah, but it kind of gave closure to the relationship because that was always
yes,
so ambiguous. It's like,
mm-hmm,
okay, are they fucking? Are they not fucking? What happened to them after the end of the show? Like,
yes,
are they
that part I
still on
liked.
speaking terms? So it was
Yes,
really more about their relationship than it was about the FBI shit.
yes, that part I liked, and I liked the last scene where they're kind of rowing away on the boat. It was cute. But anyway, I don't want to talk X Files because then I'll be on here for another fucking hour because I love the X Files,
Yeah, totally.
including the reboot. I don't know why people hate it so much. Hate on the reboots because I thought they were fun.
I love
The
them.
last two seasons I thought were fun. Not the mythology stuff, but the standalones I thought were really good. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
guys, every once in a while we'll do a long one. Usually we'd like to end it at an hour, but today we did an extra long one for y'all. Thank you for watching. As always, like and subscribe to the page. Thank you, really, everybody that watches, because I know that we got our steady little audience. And it's really awesome. And thank you guys for just viewing the page. I posted on my Facebook the other day that I got like, I don't know, 20,000 views, or I forgot the number now. And that's awesome, because this is just a labor of love. We ain't making a fucking penny off of this shit. So thank you all. Adios. Good night.
All right. Cheers, people. Thanks for listening.